These fools, they'll never learn.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Food for Thought channel. As a train chugs past, I'm going to use the word chug, as a train chugs past outside, and it's probably picked up by my microphone. Hopefully it's not, but if it is, here, have some ASMR stuff. Anyway, I have something to talk about this episode, well, not episode, this video, and as a long-time Kung Fu cinema fan, I've been a fan of the genre for close to 30 years now. There's always been one thing that's kind of been a perpetual thorn in my side, and that is that I've never had the chance to see an old-school Kung Fu cinema film on the big screen. I've never seen any kind of classic. Well, that's not true. I've seen both. I've seen Kung Fu Hustle on the big screen. I went there in my hometown back when I lived in Wales, and I was the only one there. No one else. And then a few years... Wait, what came out first? Oh, God, I should know these dates, and I don't. Anyway, I also saw Kill Bill Volume 1 in the cinema as well, but a lot of people did. That's not a big deal. But, as far as Kung Fu films go, or martial arts films go, they are really the two that stand out. Oh, The Raid. I saw The Raid and The Raid 2 at the cinema as well. Honestly, that's about it. Nothing really... Ip Man 3. I guess I saw Ip Man 3 in the theater as well. I may have seen Ip Man 4 in the theater, but I don't really remember that well. Anyway, point being, I never got to see a classic. I never got to see Prodigal Son or Warriors 2. Nothing like that in the cinema. However, this brings me to this video and what I got to do a week ago today. Actually, today's a Saturday, and a week ago, I got to sit down in front of a big screen and watch The Mystery of Chessboxing, 1979's The Mystery of Chessboxing, which I also have a poster for. I wonder if I can do this. Let's see. There we go. I just couldn't point to it because it was off screen. So there's my Mystery of Chessboxing poster. That was really unprofessional of me, but I don't care. Anyway, so there is a theater or a cinema in Silver Spring, Maryland. I now live in Maryland. For those that don't know, I'm from the UK. I've lived in Maryland for quite some time now. Originally moved to Chicago, then moved to Maryland many years ago, and have been here ever since. Silver Spring, a place in Maryland, has a small theater that usually plays classic films, all types. I've been there and watched Die Hard. I've been there and watched Alien. I've seen Jaws. I've seen Some Like It Hot. I've seen, a ton of films there in terms of like classic old-timey theater, I guess is what they do. Or not that Alien is old-timey, but you know what I mean. Anyway, long story short, they played Mystery of Chessboxing. A complete one-off. They don't usually do Kung Fu cinema. They've done Police Story, I believe, but they just had a wild 2 screenings of The Mystery of Chessboxing. One on Saturday, which was a promised to be a subtitled showing of the film, and then one on a Tuesday, which was the classic dub. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the Tuesday showing because I work early, and I think the showing was at 9, and by the time I got home, I'd have to go there on the train, and it's a long story, but it would have taken me a long time to get home, and I probably would have been knackered the next day, so on and so forth. I'm kind of pissed that I missed the dub, because the Mystery of Chessboxing dub is classic. The sky is high, the cloud is low, all that good stuff. We all love that. Ghostface Killer, stuff like that, we all love. So I didn't get to see the dub, but I got to see a subtitled version. And when I went, I actually expected to see decent subs. They promised it to be a subtitled film. It was subtitled. Unfortunately, it was the classic burnt-in subs. I will get to that shortly. I kind of want to tell this story, and I don't want it to go too long, so I want to tell the story. So I was going to this cinema, and I got very, very nervous, because I think as Kung Fu cinema fans, or I can speak for myself, I shouldn't speak for fans, because there's a variety of fans out there, but myself, I always have this perpetual fear that there's going to be a bunch of people that go to an old school Kung Fu screening, and that they're there to laugh at the film rather than with the film. Right? I appreciate Kung Fu films. I don't watch Kung Fu films to laugh at them. Yes, there are moments to laugh at, I admit. Classic dub lines, classic gaffs, goofs, wire work, dodgy wire work, things like that. Dodgy special effects, classic kung fu deaths. Classic deaths like that. You kind of laugh with them, though. You're kind of in on the joke because it's a genre that is by definition, I guess, cheesy and silly, but those of us that love these films and truly love them, not to laugh at them, kind of laugh with them, right? We don't really make fun of the dubs as much as we appreciate them. Whereas I think there's a lot of people that go to these films as like mystery science theater. You know what I mean? And they're there to comment. They're there for commentary, to laugh at the film, shout at the screen, criticize it, whatever you want. And I mean, call me a stick in the mud, call me a fucking grump or whatever you want to. I don't want that from a screening. I don't want people yelling at the screen while Mystery Chess Boxing is on. If that makes me a grumpy old man, then so be it. But that's just not what I want. I want people there to enjoy the film, to laugh at the right moments. Don't get me wrong, laughter should be had, but I kind of want people to be there to enjoy the film. So I got a bit anxious. Then I completely flipped, and I was on the train on the way to the cinema, and I was like, oh, this is Mystery Chess Boxing at 9 p.m. on a Saturday. Who the hell is going to watch that on 9 p.m. on a Saturday? Like, no one. People are out. Do people still go to clubs? I don't know. Surely, yes, but 21-year-olds, right? But, like, people are going out to restaurants and going out to other films, going out to fucking, what's showing at the moment in theaters? Superman, Ballerina, whatever. They're all going to theaters. No one's going to see fucking Mystery Chess Boxing on a Saturday night. Wrong. Very, very wrong. I rolled up to this theater, I walked right in, and immediately there was a crowd of, and if you went to see this film, I'm sorry to describe you like this, but you kind of looked a bit like this. So I apologize. You looked a bit goth. That's all I'm going to say. There was what I want to call a gaggle of goths there. We're talking 8, 9. Maybe 10, right? They're all sat together, I assume they all know each other, and they're all discussing the Mystery of Chess Boxing. I hear the immortal words that I have feared all my life. I've never seen this one. Immediately, I go, uh-oh, they're here to laugh out the film. Then they say, but it's sampled in the Wu-Tang Clan song, so it's got to be cool, right? So I'm like, they want it to be cool, or they want it to be stupid and funny? What are we here to do? So I'm overthinking things. Like, this is ridiculous that I'm overthinking things, but this is who I am. I'm just sat there going like, oh no, what kind of showing am I in for here? Am I going to enjoy this or not? So it gets closer and closer to showtime, and all of a sudden, more people start walking in, and it is an absolute smorgasbord of people. There was an old couple there. I swear to God, both of them must have been 119 years old. Proper old they were, and I loved it. Just a happy couple, just going to see a kung fu film. I didn't get to speak to them, I didn't get to hear them, but I was very, very interested in their standpoint as to why they were there. But I guess, they could love kung fu, I don't know. And the crowd got bigger. There were old people, young people, goths, not goths, all kind. A lot of kind of people with like heavy metal t-shirts on. I don't know what the crossover there is. I have no idea. But a lot of people kind of in the gothic heavy metal. They had a dark look. Let's just put it that way. So they delayed the showing by about 5 minutes because it was a film was playing before us. It was Shanghai Blues, which I've never seen. And Shanghai Blues was late wrapping up. So anyway, it took a while, and then we all went in. And to be honest, by the time I sat down, the theater was honestly, I would say like 80% full. I could be crazy. Maybe it was a little less, but it was a good 80% full in my eyes. Like, that's just me sitting towards the front and kind of looking around and seeing who's here. And the film starts, and immediately we are hit with the fact that, we're not getting clear, concise subtitles here. If you're familiar with the burnt-in subs from Mystery Chess Boxing, they're wonderful, but they're terrible. It's an awful way to follow the film because there is countless spelling mistakes, countless errors, issues, words that don't make sense. You know how it is. I think it's a direct translation and it just doesn't work. On top of that, they're white on white. They cut off. Oh, they don't always cut off the screen on this one, actually, because it's a decent print. I believe this is the RZA 36 Cinema. If you remember a while ago, RZA and, is it Dan Halstead? I think it's Dan Halstead, but I could be wrong. They had the last remaining print of Mystery of Chess Boxing, and this is their print that's kind of doing a tour of some. I don't think it's doing a tour, but it's showing in multiple theaters across America, I think. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous copy. A few frame drops, so you miss a few things. And also they cut a scene out, which really kind of was strange because it removes an entire joke, or it removes the entire setup of a joke, but gives you the punchline. I don't know the actor's name, but the guy with the mole, who, you know, is a kind of a dickhead to Lee Yi-min in the film, he's from the Kung Fu School. If you remember in the film, he drinks, no, not the piss drinking bit, the bit with the frog. Am I wrong? Am I getting things confused? Is there a scene in Mystery of Chess Boxing where Lee Yi-min goes outside and, pardon the term, takes a piss and pisses on a frog until the frog jumps into a teapot or urine pot? I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember the setup for the joke. Anyway, the entire scene where Lee Yi-min pisses on the frog, gone. If I'm crazy and that scene is from a completely different film, please tell me. Please tell me, because I may be crazy. I thought there was a scene in this one where he pisses on a frog and the frog jumps into some kind of pot fucking the trains are going past today. I don't know what's going on. So I do apologize. But anyway, that scene is cut. If it's from another film, I'm wrong. It's not cut. But I thought it was from this one. And at one point, I thought they'd cut an entire fight scene, but it was actually later on in the film, so I was incorrect with that one. Anyway, we sat in the film. I gotta say, guys, it was fucking glorious. It was an absolute joy. There were people laughing at the film, but they kind of laughed out of respect. It wasn't like outrageous, like raucous laughter at how shit the film is. It was more kind of, all right, that bit was a bit dumb, that bit was a bit silly, let's kind of titter at it. But it was good. It was a loud enough laughter to enjoy, but it wasn't obnoxious. It wasn't enough to, like, destroy the screening for me. I don't think I'd do well in, like, maybe in a Mystery Science Theater type setting, I would. I've never been to, like, Rocky Horror. I've never been to The Room showings where you throw shit at the screen, etc., etc. No, I never went to Minecraft when the kids were fucking absolutely decimating cinemas. But, yeah, this was an absolute pleasure. There was a man in front of me, probably in his 60s or 70s. He must have been enjoying the film more than me. He was having a whale of the time. Not out of comedy either. He was enjoying the fight scenes. He was, like, really into them. He was yelling and whooping and hollering when these fight scenes were on, and I was so lucky to be sat behind him because his energy, not to sound like hippie-ish, but you know what I mean. His just enjoyment of the film was so contagious, and it kind of got picked up by me, and it made me enjoy the film more. And it was just a really good time. I was so shocked that by the end of it, I left the theater like on a high. Not only did I get to see a wonderful print of a magnificent film, let's be honest, Mystery of Chess Boxing, one of the best, right? It's got to be one of the best. I mean, they don't come much better than that. Also, it's crazy how many fight scenes are in that film. There's about 46 fight scenes. It's crazy. And also, there are very, very long fight scenes. Anyway, for those that love fights and action, Mystery of Chess Boxing is easily one of the best ones. But it was so joyous, and everyone kind of was giggling but loving Ghostface Killer's name, and they actually refer to him in the subtitles as Ghostface Killing. That's how wrong they are. They kept calling him Ghostface Killing, which made me kind of laugh myself. But I think there was just this overall atmosphere of kind of not comedy, not laughing, but kind of like a raucous appreciation of the film. And I just loved it. I loved it. It was an absolute joy. I mean, where else am I going to see Jack Long and Mark Long on the big screen? Never, right? Never. There's no other film that will be in a theater at any point that has Jack Long in it, right? Never going to happen. They're not going to put out 7 Grandmasters in the theater. Oh, they might. I mean, I guess anything's possible, especially these days with more and more prints popping up and more kind of companies interested in Kung Fu films. It could be. But point being, this was such a rarity for me. It was such... It captured such a moment for me that I've waited for so long to just sit with a bunch of good people and enjoy classic Kung Fu cinema. And there is something about that I have missed out on it all these years. And so many people I've spoken to, Rodney Shapes, I've spoken to plenty of people. I've spoken to Jason, Martial Arts Theatre 3000, who has seen many a classic Kung Fu film in the theatre. And I've never, ever had the chance. I've always missed out for 30 years. 30 years I have been without doing this. And I finally got to see it. And it took me some effort. It really did, because I wasn't sure. I was very unsure about going. And I'm a man with I have a natural anxiety when going to the movies. I don't like going to the cinema. I fucking hate it. I love films, but I hate cinema because I hate people talking. I hate noise. I get very antsy, and it's a long story, but I don't really enjoy going to the cinema that much anymore, but this one was such an intimate, small screening, and the crowd was wonderful, and there weren't people chewing and chomping and rustling and all that. They were just having a grand old time. And I can say that, like this, without, I don't think any hyperbole, so watching the film in the cinema was one of my favorite cinematic moments of all time, meaning my favorite cinema moments of all time. I would say that my 3 top cinema moments, like 3 moments where I just really loved being in a movie theater, was at the end of Blair Witch when it got released. It may have been opening night, I don't remember, but we watched Blair Witch and the whole cinema theater was silent at the end. At the end, no one moved. No one said a word. There was about 5 minutes of silence because we just didn't understand what we just watched. It was the craziest, scariest thing anyone has ever seen, and it was just pure silence. And then I got the same in a screening of Paranormal Activity when the first I struggle with that word. Paranormal Activity came out. Exactly the same thing happened. Pure silence afterwards, and it was just sitting in that silence and just absorbing it and just going, oh yes, everyone's fucking terrified and I am terrified and it's glorious. And then I had a time when I went to see The Raid in theatre, and there was a girl sat kind of a few seats to my right, and she was laughing, like outrageous laughter, really loud, and I was very upset at her. And I turned to her and she was laughing because she was enjoying the fight scene so much. She was just like, oh my God. She was like laughing at the fact that she couldn't fathom that she's seen like fight scenes this good. And she turned to me and she said, I don't know what to do. And she just laughed, and I appreciated it. And I said, that's fucking wonderful. Just enjoy what's on the screen. And it didn't bother me after that. Anyway, Mystery Chess Boxing was it for me. And I can say that seeing Jack Long, Lee Yi Min team up against Mark Long at the end, the final fight in Mystery Chess Boxing on the big screen, if you ever get the chance to, please go. It is magnificent. It is blistering. It is just divine. It's the closest I've been to holiness. It was just wonderful. So if you ever get the chance to watch any kind of classic kung fu, classic martial arts, not even kung fu, it can be any martial art. I use the colloquialism kung fu flicks, kung fu movies to kind of, kung fu movies, karate flicks, people used to call them that back in the day. I'm not going to use the other one because I'm not sure about that one. The one that begins with C. I don't love that one. So, yeah, I think it was just one of the most special moments I've ever had, film-wise, in my life. It was just a wonderful, wonderful moment, and I don't think I'll forget it for a long time. And it's not just a wonderful moment for going to the cinema. It was a wonderful moment for childhood Sean, for teenage Sean. I'm Sean, by the way. For those that don't know my name, I'm Sean. I know a lot of people call me Food for Thought. My name's Sean. It's just like teenage me, because I can guarantee I watched the first ever Kung Fu film I saw was Drunken Master on VHS. I can guarantee that shortly after that, Mystery of Chess Boxing came. I don't think it came long after Drunken Master. And I watched it at a young age and was absolutely blown away. Hence why I have a poster on my wall now. It's one of my favorites, and yeah, I don't want to harp on about it, but just guys, if you get the chance, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know many of you are like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Of course, if I get the chance to go and see, I don't know, whatever, 36 Chamber of Shaolin on the big screen. Of course you're going to. I mean, we're all going to, aren't we? I don't think there's any chance of us turning that down at any point. We're too entrenched in the genre to bypass that. Just me, unfortunately, I've never had the chance. I've never been near a theater that is playing old school kung fu. So I just wanted to tell this story. I don't know why. I just got excited to tell it. I'm sure it's not very interesting, but I was so fearful. I was so terrified of the showing, and I was so scared of people being dickheads and assholes and whatever else in the theater. And I was this close not to going. And all I ask is, like, don't let others ruin your enjoyment, because you would be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people either love kung fu films and sit down in the theater and watch them because they love them, or they find themselves new to kung fu films. They're sitting down, but they find themselves really enjoying it, which is what my crowd did. A bunch of them hadn't seen it, and they had a riot with it. They had an absolute blast. And whether it was laughing at, laughing with, it was a lovely mix, and I loved every minute of it. So, next week, Godzilla film comes. I'm not sure which one. There's a whole bunch coming. I think there's 5 or 6 Godzilla films. I know -1 is one of them. Mecha Godzilla, one of them has Mecha Godzilla in it. One of them, I think the Mothra film, the standalone Mothra film, I could be wrong, that's coming. And then Godzilla versus, I'm going to get this wrong, Destroyer? I think Destroyer is coming as well. Anyway, point being, I've got a lot of fun Asian cinema coming this way. Today, In the Mood of Love is showing the 4K presentation. I'm very tempted to go and see it, but I've also kind of promised Cyrus, my buddy, who did the podcast with me. For those that don't know Cyrus, he's part of the Food for Thought podcast. I promised I'd hang out with him. So I might miss In the Mood for Love, but I've seen it 100 times. I've seen Mystery of Chess Boxing 100 times, but I've seen In the Mood of Love fairly recently, so I'm not too bothered about that one. But the Godzilla flicks, I really, really, really want to go and see. So, yeah. And also they're showing Heat at the moment, the Michael Mann film, Heat, which I am very tempted to go and see on the big screen, because it's going to be 3 hours of glorious Michael Mann in 4K. So I'm kind of tempted to go and see that one as well. Anyway, I'm sure this video went on long. I don't know. I haven't checked the time. I haven't been looking at the clock at all. I'm recording this through a new program that I'm not familiar with. I just got a MacBook. I'm no longer working on Windows computers, so I'm completely lost. I don't know what I'm doing with the MacBook at all. But I won't go into that. That's just something for another day. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed this kind of discussion, this kind of sharing, not discussion, sharing. I just wanted to let you guys know that I've done it, and I've enjoyed it, and I've loved it, and that you should never, ever, ever second guess going to a Kung Fu screening. It is an absolute delight. And I hope one day I can get to the UK shores, because they are constantly having little screenings, and I know all these fans go to those screenings. All these major kung fu heads go to those screenings. Like I was saying, Rodney, Steve, a whole bunch of people entrenched in the genre, like knee-deep in it, go to those screenings. And I would just love to join them and watch one of those and just really, really appreciate those shapes with just, for want of a better term, proper Kung Fu fans. But we'll see. Who knows? So thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have a good one. Take care, and I will catch you next time.